Okay, I want to introduce Chuck Manson. He's going to speak to us tonight. He works with Ben a lot. He's going to talk about analyzing sounds. You can do it.
I've always had an interest in Bigfoot, even as a kid. Fascinated by the stuff on TV. You know, got to see those In Search Of programs, the Leonard Nimoy, you know, those good old-fashioned ones. Those were excellent.
They're still on YouTube, trust me.
All right, yeah, I know they have a new In Search Of. The guy who plays Spock in the new Star Trek. It isn't as good, though. It isn't as good. It isn't as intriguing. Not as much drama as the new one. How I got into researching Bigfoot, and I use that term loosely because I know a lot of people don't like to be called researchers. A lot of people don't like to call other people researchers. They like to be more serious enthusiasts, I guess, if that's a category. I think I'm a little bit more than a serious enthusiast. Why do I say that? I spend every moment I can out in the woods. Being self-employed, I don't take vacations. I don't go out of town and do things. The time I get free, I'm out in the woods doing some squatching. I don't know if some people don't like that term either, but I'll use it. I'll use it tonight. So again, so how I got into the Bigfoot thing, I didn't have an experience. I didn't have something that hooked me and dragged me in. I always had an interest. I always thought there was something out there. My dad was a big-time hunter, loved going hunting, took me hunting. I didn't really like hunting. It was cold, and once I got into high school and had friends and girlfriends and those kinds of things, that took me away from doing that kind of stuff with my dad. I was into high school sports, so then I really didn't get into the outdoors until after high school. When I started to make a little bit of money to do things, and I was able to buy some gear, some hunting clothes, and those kinds of things. But I didn't go hunting, I was just more hiking and enjoying the woods. But I've always had in the back of my mind that as I go hiking and traipsing around the woods, that there's always the possibility of a Bigfoot. The stuff that I was seeing on TV might actually be out there. Back then, when your knowledge isn't very good, you think there's only one or two running around all of North America. But as I studied and read and got more into it, I realized there is a lot more than one or two running around North America. I got into the topic having a feeling that there's always something out there. And so when I went out hiking, took my family and did things, I was always kind of looking, but not really researching. Always looking for an opportunity to spend a little time out in the woods. And up till about 2013, my wife and I we'll spend some time out in the woods. This is out on the other side of Ashford. My parents had some property out there. And we would just go out and park and sit in lawn chairs and just relax out front of the vehicle. And one night we heard a howl, and I'm going to play it for you here tonight as if we were actually recording it. And I was able to capture it on audio. The second howl I was able to capture on audio. I missed the first one. And then there was a series of responses that also happened in the woods, and I'll play that for you too. And so from that point forward, I realized, hey, I know where this place is. I know how to get here. It's only 45 minutes away from my house. I have an interest in Bigfoot. I think that might have been a Bigfoot. So why not spend a little bit more time out there? And so this research area that I go to, I was kind of checking out. There was only one access way in there. Spent some time in it, and kind of all along parallel, Ben Freed was doing the very same thing. And we didn't know each other, but he had known some experiences and found some tracks and some vocalizations and stuff also out there, and was coming to the same conclusions. Well, as I started researching on the internet and Facebook and so forth, that's how I found Ben. And I just realized, well, man, you go out there, and of course, when everyone does their research, they don't give away their areas. But when you say you're, South Pierce County and near the Squally River, you kind of think, well, there can only be so many places. And so I start contacting Ben and just dropping some hints. Where do you go? Well, one day I was out there driving around, and I saw his vehicle. And so he's got a sticker on his RV that says Bigfoot Ops, and I saw him. And so I made contact. I said, hey, here's what I experienced out in that same area. How about you? And actually, it was almost the same stuff. We were experiencing the same things. We were kind of coming to the same conclusions. We're familiar with the elk and the bears and so forth that were in that area, but there was these sounds that were coming up that were odd. And we wanted to figure out what they were. Now, so what I shared with my whole encounter got me going was purely an audio thing. It was a recorded event. I didn't see what made the sounds. I didn't hear any other noise, no other rustling in the bushes, nothing walked by, there was no knocks, nothing like that. It was only that sound. That's the only thing I recorded. And what's particular about that is, if you ever read the book, Gorillas in the Mist from Diane Fossey, she said when she encountered those groups of gorillas, the first thing that indicated their presence was vocalizations. She heard them first, and then she had an idea of where to go look for them, and she went in those areas, then she found tracks. Then after hearing them and finding tracks, then she had her encounters, then she had her sightings of those gorilla troops, and then her study got underway. Then it was, after that, easier and easier to find the target species she was looking for. So I kind of threw myself into the audio part of it. And in my opinion, it's paid off. Now, I have never visually seen a Bigfoot broad daylight. I've never had a daytime encounter. But I've had a couple of encounters at night where I saw big, dark-shaped silhouettes standing in the middle of the logging road behind gates, a couple miles back in from where we park. And I'm convinced those were Bigfoots. But I didn't see anything daytime. I'm still waiting for that one event to be able to see one clearly in the day. And maybe, you know, like Tom, you're saying, maybe I just got to get comfortable. Maybe they got to just realize I'm just a human stumbling around out there, going to cause them no harm, and so maybe I would have an encounter like that. But from that point forward, how I recorded that was on an audio recorder. This is the very recorder I recorded that audio on, and if my laptop ever...
Is that a Zoom or a Tascam?
That's a Tascam.
Okay.
And it's a DR05, and this is what I recorded on. So when I heard the first howl, I grabbed it. It was in my vehicle, and I wasn't going out there planning on recording Bigfoot stuff. I coach high school football. I make notes and stuff on the field. I'm not able to write stuff down and do things in the middle of what's going on. I'll dictate a lot of times on personal recorders. I did that early in my business, and I had this sitting in my rig, and my wife reminded me, hey, do you have a recorder in your truck? Go grab that thing. So I grabbed it, turned it on, put it on the hood. That's when I got the recording. So this is the first evolution of my research into audio, picking up audio and vocalizations. From there, what I did was I went out and got a parabolic dish, just like this one, a few of them actually. So just kind of show you some of the equipment that we've used. This is about 90 bucks. Okay, you just got to put good batteries in it. I only leave it out overnight. It doesn't have enough juice to do more than a couple of nights. And you can't tell it when to come on and off. That's the drawback of this one. What I like about this one is it'll write only 50-minute files. So if it records for 12 hours, it breaks it down into 50-minute increments, which is really easy to review, and hopefully I can show you how I do that. The parabolic was the next evolution of doing that, and this particular one, the Bionic ear, I think it's like 200 bucks. So 200 bucks and 89 bucks, or just about $300 into this investment. And it just plugs right in like this. We put them in little cases to protect them, because we do leave them out all kinds of weather. Good research, you got to go on the bad days just like the good days. You got to put down, you know, even when you don't hear them, you have to record that kind of stuff. And then from there, I went with this other parabolic, which is from Wildtronics. Now this is a little bit more expensive. So this one, right here as it stands, is about $1,200. I don't leave that overnight. That sits on top of my vehicle when I record. Now, this one I can leave out in the woods, and I can leave 5 or 6 of these all over the place. The drawback of this one is the speakers, if you put them like this and you record an event, you can't tell where it was. It's somewhere within the radius of the recording capability of the recorder. So usually about a quarter mile, and if it's foggy or snow or weather kind of shortens it, and if it's a nice crisp cold night and clear, you're going to get more out of it. What I liked about stepping up into the parabolic is it'll also record sounds behind you, but they're different than the ones in front of you. So the more you use them, the more you know what sounds are in front and what's in back. This allows us to be able to tell which direction the audio came from, with vocalization or the knock and whoop and whatever it is you recorded comes from. So that stepped up the tool, but you can't, we don't have the funds potentially to do 6 or 7 of these. Ben and I combined do that. What I liked about this piece of equipment is it has a stereo microphone. Okay, so these other ones are mono. This is stereo, but again, I can't tell where in the radius of the recordability of this the sound came from. But this one here, sounds behind it are muffled. It sounds like it's being recorded like this. Sounds in front of it, crystal clear with this recording device. The stereo, anything recorded over here is in this side of my headphones, and anything recorded over there is in this side of my headphones. I know when I have it set up and I recorded something, I can tell if it's on this side of the parabolic or on that side of it. I can tell if it's over here or behind it. So it kind of helps me pinpoint where it's at. But again, for how much this costs, I don't leave it overnight. I keep this with me. It's on my vehicle. It comes off here. I can put the recorder in my pocket. I can walk around with it and record. I can wear headphones when I'm walking and recording. This, in my opinion, if your funds are tight, this is the way to go. Get yourself a good recorder, put a bunch of them out, and capture your audio that way. If you step up into something like this, the advantage is this is crystal clear. You're not going to get background noise. And if I'm able to play the audio for you for this, you're going to hear a lot of background noise. And even more so with this dish, there's a little bit of background noise. So you have to get experience with your equipment to turn up and down your recording levels as you have them out in the woods, or else you can just get a whole bunch of background noise. And try to find the faint vocalization that's in.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Don't put, some people will put these in the woods. They'll put something over it when it's raining. That's what you hear when it's raining, is whatever's hitting the top of that. That's what you pick up. And you have a whole night of raining. It's better to put it within trees that you're not getting immediate rain on it. If you're in a bunch of thick fir trees, it's a lot drier in there than you think. And a nice when it's raining out. Windy nights are really bad, as you just get all the wind from the trees and so forth. But this is the way to go. Now, if you're able to have a few of these, I would get yourself a good topography software program, which means if you have a GPS unit and you're out there and you're putting this down, and I label all of mine, so this is number 2. So I'll put number 2 somewhere, and then I'll mark it on my GPS device. And then if I record something, then I have those GPS coordinates. And what I do is I'll lay out a whole grid. I was hoping to show you on the screen. Just a screenshot of the topography program. And you can get those topo maps, and there's various of them on there. You can get them on Amazon. And when I bought mine, it was in 2006. You actually got a physical CD, or, for your drive. Now you can just download them with half the hard drive space. Okay, so there's a topo map. And what I did was, you see those pins, and it's kind of hard to see from back here, but the pins represent the number of the recorders. So I'll put, in this case, I labeled them, 1, 2, 3, then 4 over here. And we strategically put these out. We believe, in our research area, Bigfoots are coming off this ridge up here. Oh, very good. We believe they're coming from up here. And you'll notice this is a road right here. This is a forest road. People do drive up and down it during the day. It's not a real secluded area. But what's unique about this is one of a few wetlands that are on this north side of the road. And what's happening is we are parking over in here somewhere. And through the night, we hear howls. And then towards after midnight, 2, 3 in the morning, we're hearing whoops and other noises coming out of the wetlands. There's one over here, there's one over there, and so forth. And so we are putting our recording devices along this road, pointing up to this hill, all the way across. Now, your topo software would be able to tell you how far apart these are set. And I try to put them apart equally. And the reason being is because if I get a hit on this recording device, and I set all my recorders the same, okay? And it comes up, 12, 13 decibel level on my recording, and I get a faint one off of this one of the same audio at the same time, and none over here, then I know it was closer to this recorder than that one. So that's the advantage of putting multiple of them out, is that you can kind of put this array of recording devices out, and you can kind of narrow down where the sound came from. And of course, if nothing happens over here, then you know that sound came from over there. And we pay attention on a spreadsheet, and you can use Microsoft Excel, any spreadsheet that you can record location, date, time, and moon phase, which is a very important thing we're finding out in our research area. Won't go a whole lot into that tonight. That could be maybe a topic for another night, but I keep all that data down. How often are we hearing this sound and where? Howls, we hear howls, whoops, whistles, knocks, barks, kind of sounds, a lot of different stuff. And so we'll set this all up and then pull off an audio off of one of those. Sometimes we're present, sometimes we're not, sometimes we're camped out, sometimes we'll just put stuff out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then pull them all back in and review. So an audio event can happen Friday night, we won't even know until maybe Wednesday or something, because we're reviewing the audio, and it takes time to, if you're going to put 4 to 6 of these out there, and you're recording 12 hours, it takes a long time to go through all of those. Now, Ben does it the long way. He listens to all 12 hours almost, right? And he'll listen on his computer speakers, and he can pick stuff out that I cannot pick out. And when he sends it to me, I see it on the software I'm going to show you, but I can't hear it. I'll use Sennheiser headphones and listen, and I'll only look for certain pitches and decibel levels on the software that I'm going to show you before I tag it and keep it and so forth. Because if you record 6 recorders in 12 hours, it's probably the next weekend before I can get through all of it. And then I want to record again. I want to put my stuff back out and capture some more. Consistency is best. If you can get out there the more often you can, the great. And what's neat about the audio part of it is you don't have to spend the night. You don't have to go a quarter mile into the woods. The recorders are going to record a quarter mile or more for you. You can drive through your research area, put these babies out, record where they are, leave, go home with your family, go to the movies, do whatever you want to do, and then come back. So if you're limited on time, you can still get your research done by picking up the audio. Now it's important because, again, we're able to kind of narrow down where the sounds come from, and we actually find tracks all on this ridge. All the tracks are going down. All the tracks we've ever found off this ridge go down. And I believe they're going into this wetland. The path they take back out, I haven't found that yet. We have found tracks and cast tracks in these areas, but they kind of point in all kinds of different directions. I believe they go in there and they forage at night, and nobody's bothering them. Even poachers aren't out there late at night, even in the off-hunting seasons. We've kind of got the whole place to ourselves when they're not logging. What I'm going to share with you on the audio, I was parked right here, and there's another wetland, big one, it's probably 10, 8, maybe 8 to 10 acres huge. The water's only this deep all the way across, and it is full of wetland plants, cattails, all kinds of grass. There's frogs in there. I mean, if you eat that stuff, you can spend there all night and not even make a dent in it. But there's several of these, and I believe that's where they go to. This is a nice flat spot right here. I mean, it's pretty good distance. The terrain is not that much, and we thought, you know what? And I see it on my GPS. I've got a Rhino 650, so it shows all this stuff, shows the roads. If somebody else has one, it shows them on it. Nice piece of equipment. And so when we found our track, I'd say then we found it like right down in here. So we thought, let's keep going uphill, let's keep looking. And I saw this on my GPS, and I realized after about an hour and a half of hiking uphill, we made it from this line to like that line. So, well, okay, and it's not impossible to go up and down that. It just takes you all day. You better pack a lunch, better do it before dawn if you think you're going to get up on here. Okay, so let's say we've had our stuff out all weekend. You've got your device, and you want to. I wonder if I got anything. The first level of scrutiny I put on it is through a software called Audacity. Is anybody familiar with that software? Okay, it's free.
Yeah.
I love free stuff. When you're getting into this and you're buying game cameras and parabolics or even recorders, free is always great. It's going to import it, and that's what it's going to look like. Now that's a wave spectrum right there. So you're going to see the blue and the highs and lows and so forth. And again, when I play that, remember there's a lot of background noise to this recorder by itself. Now the only reason why I knew that the audio came from that area I was showing you, because I was sitting in a chair and I heard it. But if this was just sitting out there all by itself, I wouldn't know it was before and behind and so forth, which kind of by itself makes for a long weekend. What we do is if we pick up a recording, if it was our target species, if we think it was a Bigfoot, then there should be tracks. There should be some tracks, right? And so we go looking, we do a perimeter search around where the recorder was, and we start looking for tracks. After spending a good hard afternoons with radios and being in touch with each other, we are starting to find consistently tracks, and not just one. We're finding a couple, because the saying goes, you have to keep stepping up your research. If you're finding audio, you should find tracks. If you find one track, there should be two, right? You should be able to find another one somewhere around that. So that's what we're doing, and we're finding those kinds of things which corroborate your evidence, your event of what you recorded. So here's what we have. I'm going to play it through. It came over the speakers. I apologize for the quality, but it was just grabbing it and putting it up there. You're going to hear a very familiar vocal that you have heard in programs before. And I honestly thought somebody was call blasting or something out there. I thought, well, there's no way that could be out here. But I grabbed it and started recording, and there's only one way in, so there's nobody else out here. And then that first audio was a little bit away from me, but the other audios right behind it were right in front of me. And I knew there was nobody, down in these wetland areas. So I'll play it, everybody kind of listen. Again, I apologize for the quality. See how loud it is over this. Okay, so I'm just getting it over. Are you hearing it up there? Are you guys able to hear it up there? Is there a volume? I don't think we're hearing it on the speakers.
I hear it on your computer, and I hear it.
Yeah, you're not hearing on the overheads.
And I took my boombox out to the car because it was playing perfectly.
It was.
Okay, so we'll play it again, but I want you to notice a couple of things that are happening. When you hear the howls, here comes another one. That's me moving around. We're towards the end of it.
Usually a female.
There's another one. Right there's another one. There's another one. So do you see where that pointer go?
Was this day or night?
This is at night at about 11 o'clock at night. Okay. So I'll play it through a different app. It'll come over the speakers, I think. When I sit at my desk,
They must have rolled.
I'll look at that, and right there you'll see at the top, there's about 1 minute and 15 seconds. So when I record all night, I'll get 12 hours, but it'll be broken out into 50-minute increments. So I can see the whole 50 minutes right there. And when I see ups and downs, now I was present, moving around, getting that thing ready. That's what all that background sound is from. So you got to kind of weed through some of that. But if you're not there, you're not going to have all that handling noise. So then I'll target those areas. Vocalizations at the end, one here, one there, and one there. And they were, I'll show this in a different application again so you'll be able to see it in a different way. The main howl came out right here. This is me messing around with the audio. And I'll play it again, so as you listen closely, you kind of see where that story bar goes across.
Oh, you locked out?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Can you kind of hear that? So there's that howl right through here. So here's these other howls. Now, up here, that's me messing around with that thing, hanging onto it. It's this baseline right here. Here it comes again. Almost here. There we go. Three at the end. I don't know what it is with, things of three gunshots, three whatever. It's like the I'm over here kind of thing. It almost sounded like there was a male howling at the beginning, and maybe some females were howling, in response. Here again, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. When I first recorded that, I sat on that for a while. I figured the first howl was somebody call blasting the Ohio howl. Remember the Ohio howl? You guys hear that? But it's got the dogs barking in the background. But it doesn't take a sound engineer to pull the dogs out and just broadcast the other howls. People have done that. I now do it now that I know how. If I want to do any call blasting with a nice clear sound. But I wasn't sure about the other ones. Those higher pitched ones that came after, and they were down in front of me probably 100 yards from where I was sitting. The other one sounded far away, just like it did here. But I sat on those for a while until I met Derek Randalls from the Olympic Project. And I met him at one of these meetings that he attended out at Thun Field, almost to ground. You know where Thun Field is now? It's Top Gun, I think, restaurant now. So I met him out there. And he said, well, hey, you know what, if you ever record anything, you got to send it to our sound guy, Dave Ellis. And Dave Ellis, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's with the Olympic Project, which me and Ben are both members of. And he is totally into the sound stuff. Taught me how to review, what to look for. And he turned me on to another software application. And I'll open that up, and it's Sonic Visualizer. Okay, so I'm opening up Sonic Visualizer. Now, Sonic Visualizer, without adding any layers, it is free. Sonic Visualizer is free. You can download that tonight. If there's nice Wi-Fi here, if you brought your laptops or whatever, you can download it. It'll be right up to speed. Try it when you get home. There's different versions. So this one's about 6 years old, but I'm familiar with it, so I like keeping it. I can upgrade to a newer one, but it's got different buttons and different, toggles and things to figure out. A little bit harder to do. And when you first open this, it's going to come up in the same WAV file. So this looks exactly the same as Audacity. You think, well, what's the difference? Why open it up? Well, I want to layer it now with the spectrogram. Okay? And so now you got some colors in there. And I need to change how I view those colors and interpret those signals. It's easiest to kind of go to fruit salad. Okay? If I leave it like that, all the noise is at the bottom. But I don't like all the noise at the bottom. What you see on the very left side here is the hertz that the pitch frequency is in right here. Okay, so right now the way I have it set, all my noise is way down here, and it's very difficult to kind of see that down here. I want it about the middle of the screen, so I got to change my settings, and that's all done over on this side. Okay, and if you hit me up on Facebook or whatever, and you download this, and you have some audio you want to analyze, maybe you've recorded coyotes, and I've done that and compared. I'll show you some of that stuff. Owls, your neighbors, whatever. If you want to know how to reset it and do some of this, just hit me up, and I'll walk you through this part, because you got to change these tabs to change what's going on here. Okay, and I'm going to open the window up. I'm going to broaden it a little bit. I always come down to about the 4096. See how that changed a little bit there? I want to go to the maximum percentile, the 93. Now this is the important part.
Is this for lighting check?
It's for contrast
Mhm.
and then shape of the spectrogram in relation to this over here. And you want to be able to read that because you want to see where your sounds are coming in at. So I still got to make one more adjustment. I don't want to look at this in linear. I want to look at it in log. Okay, so now it changes this way. And if I want to change the contrast even more, like my eyes hurt looking at that because our sounds are right here. Here's the howl. I want to see it a little bit better. I can come up here and I can change that to sunset. See them now?
Mhm. So the scale on your left-hand side is reading megahertz?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of move that over here and show you. Before I play it and we follow it through, just kind of show you what we're going through here. So there's one sound being made by something. That's right here. But you see another bar here and you see another bar there. Okay? Those are harmonics. So we have a main harmonic right here. Then these are secondary fundamentals. That means the voice box in certain animals only have one line. They only have one sound coming out of the voice box. Some humans are like that, depending on how loud they're yelling. Whatever this was and how far away it was really bellowing out. There was probably some different cracking or pitches. Have you ever yelled real loud and your voice made two different sounds as it was doing it because you're really straining?
Chuck, what's the frequency of that main harmonic?
So that main harmonic right here is coming in at just a little over, what is that, 602? 600? Here's the neat part about this software. So there's that main harmonic. I can look at it right here. It's easier on my screen, a little harder on this. And I can also see it up there. So my bend frequency is this number right here. See that?
You know.
Okay, so now we have that main howl.
Yeah.
That was right here. Put my little cursor on it. That comes in. Up here it says 656 to 678.
Mhm.
Now I make notes on that, so when I put my spreadsheets together, this howl, this date, this location, here's the frequency. Because when I study elk, and I study coyotes, and my dog's barking, I even record me and Ben. So when we're out there and it's middle of the night, and there's no action, we're ready to turn in, I'll say to Ben, hey, do you mind if I do a whoop? Can I do a howl? You know, just maybe we'll get something going. You know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, we're out here all night.
That's what you're asking for.
And I'll do it. I record myself, and I look at the footprint. I record Ben. We got another gentleman that comes up with us. I record him, because if any of these guys send me a howl, and it matches their signatures, because we all have different signatures, you can see it now. We all come in, you know, like way down here,
Yeah.
and coyotes are way up here. Elk look even different. Their stuff is vertical. Owls got a little, I'll show you one's got a little squiggle and then a line because that's just the way their vocal cords are. So I'll play this. Here's that howl. These are those other ones that are coming up.
Do you find
Can't see
Well, it
the
starts right there. There's
numbers.
another one.
do you find they come in between 600 and 700 hertz for the most part?
For the most part, yeah. If I had to make a profile, that's what's called the sweet spot.
Yep.
Okay? So
Yeah.
I call it the sweet spot because as long as elk don't fall into that category, or dogs, canines or coyotes, wolves, some people say, oh, you recorded wolves. I go, really? So I'll pull up a wolf audio, analyze it, and it's nowhere near.
Southern Cast.
Now, you'll see my howl. I can duplicate some of the howls that you hear. But I can't duplicate it there.
On there,
I can't,
that's right.
I can't commit the same frequency. I can mimic, a lot of people say Bigfoot's a mimic, and I'll be honest with you, I've seen some questionable owl signatures, but in my mind, if I'm not researching, if it sounds like an owl, it's an owl. Sounds like a coyote, it's a coyote. Sounds like an elk snorting, huffing, blowing, bugling, that's what it is. I try not to go Bigfoot first and prove me wrong. It's an elk or it's other animals that you think it sounds like first, prove that wrong. You can be calling anything up there.
I have had owls in that range,
Yep.
and yeah.
And the whole a point about if you're doing your audio study, it's easiest if you see the animal making the noise. Like I saw Ben how I recorded. I saw it, my own eye, I saw it. You can't tell me it wasn't. But these other sounds, you're not there, and you don't see them. Right? I mean, I didn't see what made this. And I'm not standing here claiming today, I've got proof of the Bigfoot, because that is far from proof. But it's not an elk, not a bear. I mean, I can see those. Another resource, just quickly to show you. Are you familiar with the Macaulay Library of Animal Sounds? Okay, I would pull it up, but it would probably like crash my computer if I do that. And what that is, the Macaulay Library of Animal Sounds is a library database of all known mammals. There's reptiles and birds and so forth. If you think you've got a coyote, you know, because your neighbor's telling you, oh, you record coyotes. There's probably 600, if you want to go through them, 600 audios of coyotes, and when they display the audio, as you see it playing on a computer screen, it's in this format, it's in a spectral format. So I was doing orangutans, gorillas, looking at some things, and believe it or not, they are really similar to what we're recording out in the field. Now, the Macaulay Library of Animal Sounds, those are scientists and biologists who saw the animal make the noise. That's why it's on their database. They saw it and they recorded it. There's no unknowns in the Macaulay Library of Animal Sounds. They're all were visually seen. So if you had something that sounds like, you know, an elk or something, or somebody's telling you that, you can go and you can try to match it up. Now, is it an exhaustive database? Probably not. Because I am sure there are some coyotes and wolves and people that are able to make a sound that's different that nobody's recorded and cataloged yet. Because we're all unique in that way. But in the big picture of things, we're kind of collecting sounds and then profiling them up to other sounds that we hear. And like I said, we do record elks and so, you know, kind of keep track of what's out in the woods in case, you know, coyotes trying to put one past us. So we'll play it, looking at it. Okay, so I paused it there for a second. I have to move it to show you another little feature here. So you can take this and you can measure. See this little measuring stick right there? And I can take that and I can say, right there's where it started. I got the right tool. And right about there it ended. So that lasted 9.42 seconds. So if that's the Ohio howl, and you have the Ohio howl on the same software and you record it, they should be the same length, right? And so this one's actually a little longer than the Ohio howl. Now, is it possible you can record speed faster and slower? Yeah, you can. I mean, there's, you know, this is an exact science. But if there's no one else out there and you have these tools and you're measuring lengths of howls and so forth and comparing them, this is just another tool to let you know how credible maybe your stuff is or isn't. So if I record this and this was an exact match for the Ohio howl in length and pitch, I have to scrap it. I have to say, well, there's somebody else out there that I don't know that is able to call blast and duplicate that sound. Now, Ben said he was out there that night, and in the back of my mind for probably like 3 years, I thought, that's Ben call blasting.
And then you've been call buzzing, right?
But Ben just doesn't want to tell me that because I'll go, oh, forget it, I'm not part of your deal. I don't want to go squatching with you. But I kind of kept it in the back of my mind. Again, I sat on this for a little bit. And then Ben got into call blasting, and I realized, oh, you don't have that technology to call blast just like that,
Yeah.
that loud and that far away.
Now I do.
And his poor wife, she's down. They're closer to me, so the lines are a little thicker. But something Dave Ellis was pointing out to me in this, we're going to move this. And then we're going to go back to where it was viewable. All right, so when you look at that, we know there's at least two creatures in this. I'm not going to call them Bigfoots, but I hope they're Bigfoots, right? In the very beginning was that Ohio house, and we know that's one. How many are right here? When you listen to it, I hear one creature. And Dave Ellis was telling me, well, look, this is an ascending, starting out low, it's getting higher, and as it tails off, and this is part of that, then you have a whole other one happening right up here, and this signature is different than these. He was telling me you probably have two howling at the same time, and it was giving that eerie sound, the up and down kind of sound that made it a little bit eerie, and then the other one at the end. So, I don't know, I didn't see what was going on, but is it impossible that there was two of them there? No, it's not impossible. Could have been. I look at it though, what are the odds of 3 or 4 Bigfoots being around me that night in that one spot? I can't even see one in broad daylight. And there might have been more, but it could be, and it just opens up your mind to what's going on out in the woods. Is there a male out there calling, hey, I'm over here? And orangutans will do this, males will go over to a tree and they will vocalize, and then the females have to go to him. That's how orangutans work. Females, they'll vocalize and then they make their way to him. The males don't find them, the females find them out. And that could have been what happened that night. Or that could have been somebody called blasting an ash river with this pumping speaker system, and somebody else in the woods answering back. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't see. I like to believe the former, and that we probably have an unknown creature. That whatever was making those second vocals were already in the wetland. Because that was 11 o'clock at night. I think they already made their way down in the dark, safety, across the walking road, into the trees, foraging. And then I pull up and sit there. And then that event happens, and then they did their thing. We had it down a couple of years ago, parked in that one spot up there that was familiar to you guys, where about 2 hours after sundown, that's when the action would happen. And it wasn't any set time, but it was right around 2 hours from sundown. And that turned into 9 o'clock, and then 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. It would come from the same area and kind of work its way around us. In the back, I left it overnight, and I almost couldn't even find it the next day. That's how well I hit it. And we're walking down there, and I go, hey, do you mind if I do a vocal? And anytime I do a vocal and I'm present, I'm going to knock right down the time. And that's what I'm doing. I was on this road. I did a whoop. I did a howl. And Ben goes, I don't care what you do. That's why I do a howl. Woo! Listen, it shut the squirrel up. Nothing else. We're just walking out of there. We go to our rigs and we leave. And so about 45 minutes, not quite an hour, more like 50 minutes after we got in the truck and left, that's when this happened. That's when we got this audio. And when you check it out, and again, Mark here, you can get out.
Did you even hear anything that night?
Not until we went home and we
Then you listen, you hear on your recorders, and you go, oh, right after you left, as soon as you close the door on your truck and drive off, then it's like Grand Central Station out there, everybody starts vocalizing, and that's what it is.
So that one there is right about 500. This other one's just a little bit more. Now, these look different, but I think they're the same individual. And I've had somebody tell me, when I say somebody, Dave, when I sent this up to Dave Ellis and said, what do you think? And if you do this and if you share files and stuff, be prepared for somebody to tell you you recorded nothing. You recorded an hour. I think you recorded a truck driving by for good. I've had those things. So I've been turned down on a lot of stuff that I wasn't sure about. But if I'm not sure, I kind of want another opinion. And I was asking him about this. Is that 2 of them or what's going on? And he goes, well, it sounds like one. He goes, and a locator whoop could be, if my dish is right here and I'm the creature, I can look this way, because that's the fainter one, right? This first one. Whoop. Whoop. So this one's gonna be louder than that one. That's what he thinks happened, is it wasn't two. One came in there, turned his head this way, turned his head that way. Of course, we heard that, that one picks up really good, it's clear. Ground's frozen, I drug my poor wife out there 2 days later. We scoured that area looking for tracks. Didn't find any, but we did our due diligence and went and looked and learned some more of my research area. I've been in the little woods I haven't been in. That area, been referred as Delta, and I think we said you knew where that kind of is.
Delta Echo.
The trees
And
are,
he has sworn me on the pain of you beating my ass if I walk into your area. I do know where it is. I promise you, what this man's told me, I won't go there.
if you go there and record something, man, share it. I don't own any of that property.
I tease
I mean,
Ben.
I know my taxes say I do, but I don't.
I tease Ben,
But what's cool about this area, here's what I want to try and use our drones this winter, is those trees are only 14, 16 feet high. And if you're
but
not,
that's the only area.
if you don't know what drones are, and I'm out there and I'm a creature and I'm looking up all night, the flight pattern is right above that area of airplanes. All night there are airplanes going by with yellow, red, and green, lights flashing. And a drone is just small enough that if you didn't know better, looking straight up, you would think that's just another plane coming by. I'm hoping, we get some
It's
hits
noisy.
and we don't spook anything. Because you got to be, really about 150 feet, 175 feet with those drones, because the FLIRs aren't that powerful to be able to pick out what something is. I've tested it, and it picks me and my son out pretty good that way. But that's out in the open. If you're going through brush, and of course, thermals don't see through brush and foliage. Okay, so without even hearing it, you see that telltale signature of a longer call. And again, if I wanted to measure it, and can't figure out how to get that off there, I can measure what it is from here to here, these 2 points with this tool, and I can take that data down. Well, this whoop lasted this long, and certain individuals might whoop the same. They might howl the same. That just might be them. If you record me howling and Ben howling trying to imitate it, they're going to be a different length for different individuals. But if I howl and I do that on a regular basis, I will be consistent at the duration of my vocal, because that's how my lungs are used to it. That's how I can get it out. And it's habit. But if I was trying to imitate somebody, then those things would be different. So here's that longer signature right there. Let's see what it sounds like when we play it. Did you hear it?
Yep, there's the second one.
Real faint, but you can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to even hear it very well. I can see it with the software. And if your eyes are good, you can see where these are coming in at over here. Yeah, if I stop it, you can see we're right at about 699 or so, just under 700 right there. So again, we look at if that matches the profile. There it is here at about 700. There's one coming in just above 500, so there's a 5 to 7. Right, that's we think their vocal range. Is it impossible that they can make sounds lower and higher? No, they can. They probably can if they wanted to on purpose. But all the vocalizations that we recorded, I don't believe any of them have been directed at me. I don't believe any of them have anything to do with me. These are further away, and I think they're either communicating to themselves, or this is just they're feeding. Here's a noise I make when I'm full. Here's a noise I make when I found frogs. Primates will do that all the time. They're not really talking to anybody. It just sounds they make. If they are talking at you, it's totally different. And Ben back in May recorded a grunt sound. That's on our Facebook page, and that was directly to him. I mean, we found a track right near where that was. He got too close. There was a bunch of movement in the brush. Then he recorded oh, I don't have that on here. I should have shared it, but you can go to the Facebook page and record that.
It's actually throwing something in the tree. That's what
And that's exactly what silverbacks do. When other silverbacks get close, they'll make a whoa. And sometimes they whoa, 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 whoa. They'll speed it up a little bit. That's the sounds they make. That's one thing I appreciate about the new program that's out, Bigfoot Expedition, is that the Mariah gal that's on there, the primatologist, she's made some documentaries 10, 12 years ago that are very credible. She's done some great work with silverbacks and gorilla tribes. So she's credible. She knows what she's saying. I know they scripted a little bit. Please say this because you're credible. But when I watch that program, I've set up my recorders and record some of the sounds that come from that documentary so I can look at them and see if there's anything close to what I'm hearing out in the field.
didn't want.
Did you ever share with these guys that sighting? So, Scott Taylor was there, my brother was there. The only person that saw anything was Ben. And of course, it was a very fleeting, oh, sure you did, I'm going back to bed. Except for, the other guys heard it going into this wetland area, again with the wetland, thrashing about. My brother was right there. And then this vocalization happened. So, maybe Ben saw a bear. But that's not a bear
2 hours
vocalization.
in the rain, I sit there, and 2 hours in the dark with the rain pouring down, because this recording was raining.
So this is one of those things where, you know, you're out with somebody, they told you they saw something, here I got something recorded, you know, and when Ben tells me that story, I was like, okay, and he's my buddy, but I'm not gonna buy everything hook, line, and sinker. So yeah, send me this recording, let's check it out. I wanted to see what it was, and I wanted to know if the audio was even related to what he saw. Maybe it was something somewhere else. No, Scott Taylor was there, my brother was there, they heard it, so they got a couple of other guys collaborating that, no, we heard something going into the wetland. This noise came out of that wetland, we were right there. Now I want to see what the noise looks like. Does the noise even fit the profile? Maybe there was an owl in there doing this, long hoots, and we just couldn't hear the enunciation of the, or whatever sound they make. And when I pulled this up and look at it, it comes right in at the 600 some profile of where the sweet spot should be. So when we're out there and we're recording everything at these same frequency profiles, now the odds are almost zero that it's the same individual, like not a Bigfoot. There's some mysterious animal or elk with a weird voice box that's showing up in all these instances making these sounds. Now that's impossible, I think. It's more likely that there's something else out there that's capable of making this noise, and we're catching it over the years in all these different events. We're keeping track of the moon phases. We're getting probably 80% of our stuff is in the dark moon phase, and that's a 3 week, about a 2.5 week period from waning crescent to waxing crescent. That's when they seem to be more active. We have recorded stuff that was in the full moon phase. That's a very minute amount. One thing I didn't include on here was knocks. We recorded, lots of knocks. But the audio is what kind of grabs our attention. Let me just play one more here.
More consistently, you'll hear oops and knocks more than anything. That's what I go to listen for at night for any kind of activity, and I listen for the knocking or the thing. It's also consistent with any kind of activity that goes on out there. You'll get some knocks going. Then we may knock all the time, but because it definitely don't vocalize all the time. You might hear a whoop, but you hear a lot of knocking and stuff. It'll be quiet, but you hear a lot of knocking.